Hello and welcome back to the SRL TCR League here for the 11th season of competition, and we are at a circuit that has absolutely no right in hosting more than 40 touring cars at the same time. We are here at the wonderful Silverstone National circuit, not the GP loop. Oh no, we are here running what is a very short 6-cornered circuit and what is my favourite layout of the Silverstone circuit. Personally, I cannot wait to see how the two races stack up tonight. 45 minutes of combined racing up ahead of us, as we will have a 20-minute race set by the results of qualifying, and then we will have a 25 minutes race set by the results of our race 1 order, the top 10 being reversed. Now, we have had a few changes going into today's event that we need to keep an eye out. We've mentioned over the last couple of weeks there were a few drivers who we thought were placed in the wrong classes. Well, that has been the case. They have been shuffled around ever so slightly, with a few changes, 5 changes in fact, being made to our class order. A couple of drivers dropping into the class below them. So, Craig Walters, he stepped away from the pros. He is now into the semi-pro field for the rest of this season, which is the one step below the pros, still above the pro-ams, of course. Alan McCain has stepped down from the semi-pros and into that pro-am field. So a couple of changes there. Walters, McCain, they've gone down to the class below just to give them a better competition through the course of the season so that they have a lot of fun. They'll be racing with those in the same class that way. Then we have had 4 moving around that have moved drivers up classes, and they are, well, to be the ones that we expected, really. Bradley Sellers, he took 2 race victories, well, both race victories last time out at Nürburgring in the Pro-Am category, so he is up into the semi-pro category for the rest of the season, as is Marko Mikalainen, who we saw really fighting it hard all the way at the front at Donington Park. He will be up into the semi-pro field of things as well, out of the Pro-Ams. That does spice up your Pro-Am Championship and your Semi-Pro Championship, in fact, as well. We'll have to keep an eye on that in a moment when we go through our standings. Then we looked down at our amateur field. Well, Marcus Gesdal and David Price, they've both taken 2 wins apiece each as well. Gesdal looking quick, just not having the best of lucks in race number 2. Well, he is up into the Pro-Am class, as is David Price, who took both victories in class at the Nürburgring very dominantly, in fact. What we will do is, for next week, I will adjust my statistic sheet so that I will be able to tell you who in each of those classes, therefore, have inherited class victories, because it would be nice for those that have then, therefore, been given those class victories in reward for the fact that the drivers they're racing with actually are no longer in their class. That being said, 4 classes, of course, in the SRL TCR Championship, and before we had a look at before we have a look at the championship standings in each of those 4 classes, a reminder of the calendar. We are here at Silverstone for the 4th round of competition. We head out in a week's time at the Autodromo Enzo E. Dino Ferrari, or better known to you and me as Imola, on May 8th for round number 5. That will mark the halfway point in the championship already. Can you believe it? We're halfway there already. Time flies by, honestly. We head across then to Watkins Glen on May 15th for the round number 6 before we go back-to-back in the UK. Snetterton, followed by Thruxton, rounds number 7 and 8. We head back to the US of A in the June 5th, Mid-Ohio for round number 9. And it all ends off at what I think is going to be an absolutely brilliant stage for the finale. Zandvoort on June 12th. Make sure that you are subscribed to the SRL TV YouTube channel. You're following the Joseph White broadcasting pages. Make sure you do not miss out any of the upcoming races. It has been a fantastic season so far, and it has meant, with a couple of changes with Gesdal and Price Stepping out of the amateur standings, it means Kevin Marshallsay now leads the standings in that one after the first 3 rounds of competition. 128 points to his name. 5 points clear of Christian Larsen. It's then only a 6-point jump back to Torburn Mail, who had a great run out last time, up to 3rd in the championship. 3 points ahead of Joshua Syme. It's then 11 points back to Chris Evans in 5th position. A further 7 down to Luke James. And then the biggest gap out of your top of your field is then the jump down from Luke James to Lewis McCaig, 6th and 7th position. Harvard Hafstad sits in 8th with 72 points, 10 points clear of Matt Pearce. It is Scott Malcolm sitting with 55 points to his name. Shamoy Samuel sits in 11th position, 53 points for him, ahead of Andy Littler. And then we're just waiting for Michael Gagnon to get out onto the track for the first time this season. We take then a step up from out of the amateurs and into the pro-ams. Lucas Henschel, who won the amateur standings, of course, 2 seasons ago, had a really troubling season last season. Could not find the pace at all last season. Well, he has found his way to the top of the Pro-Am standings, looking to try and take a 2nd championship. Could he take the Pro-Ams this season? Paul Hurley will be the man trying to take it off of him. 28 points back, 200 points exactly for the pole position driver of Paul Hurley in 2nd. David Price moving up into the Pro-Am standings. Well, he finds himself in 3rd position in that one, ahead of Thomas Kuhn. Josh Taylor is in 5th position ahead of Vigard Olsen. Leo also stepping into the Pro-Ams for the first time after winning the amateur standings last season. Danny Herber in 7th position is 3 points clear of Marcus Gesdal, who jumps up into the Pro-Ams this week. Chris London sits in 9th position, 3 points clear of Alan McCain, rounding out top 10 in the championship. Stuart Gibbons sits in 11th ahead of Ben Gibbons, who's yet to get out there this season. Let's take another jump up and into your semi-pro standings here. It is Simon Moldecleave who finds himself at the top of the semi-pro standings, 254 points, but look at that gap. 1 point behind is Daniel Lewis. I mean, you can't write it, can you? This is such a tight championship after what was an absolute runaway season last season long for Daniel Downing in the semi-pros. Well, they've decided it is going to be a tight old fight this season. It's not too far back to Bradley Sellers, who steps up into the semi-pros for the first time this week, as does Marco Mikalainen, sitting in 4th position. Ronald de Jong sits in 5th, a further 12 points back, another 11 points ahead of Demis Titcher, the 2 teammates side by side in the standings. JB DeJ sits in 7th position ahead of Tony Walker. Craig Walters sits in 9th, and Carl Hardy in 10th position in the order. It is then going to be Fraser Garrity in 11th position, 147 points. Dec Crowther with 113, 33 points. Pete Van Gool. Remember, Van Gool's got the crash of the season right now. That massive rollover end over end back at Mugello, race number 2. What an accident that was. Stephen Fry yet to get down on track in the semi-pros. And finally, last but certainly not least, it's your Pro Championship all the way at the front. Daniel Downing, after dominating the Semi-Pro Championship last season, has pulled open a little bit of a gap at the top of the order in the SRL Purple Machine. He sits ahead of the 2 Sim Racing Norways by Polyalchemy. Teammates of Kim Borkland and Gordon Haig behind 2nd and 3rd position. Dan Mould, the only defending overall champion, sitting in 4th position right now. He won that overall championship, of course, back in season number 9 when he won the Pro Championship. He has won that championship 4 times. Season 1, Season 2, Season 4, Season 9. Can he win it? Season number 11. He's a bit off the pace at the moment. Chris McIntosh sits in 5th ahead of John Brown. Just a point separating them. A further 3 points back is Ben Oucher in 7th. Mark Draper sits in 8th position ahead of Braden Sagasa. Jack Brown sits in 10th position. It is then Samuel Sproul sitting in 11th, and no points on the board yet for Luke Woodhouse. Right then, that's all your championship orders in terms of your classes. The last one that I want to talk through, though, is going to be your team standings, because I cannot get them out on the board for you. But it is, I think, as expected from the two teammates of Haig and Borkland right at the top of the pro standings, just behind Daniel Downing. It is the Sim Racing Norway by Polly Alkalemi, who are leading the way with 694 points. SRL Purple, and then those in second, 525 points for them. SRL Green with 520. So we need to keep an eye on those two SRL drivers. Pole position sits in fourth position right now, a point clear of Hydro Race Racing Forces. SRL Rosso, with only Dan Mould getting out there, no Jack Brown out there recently, means that they're falling down the order to sixth. Blitz Boys Motorsport sits in 7th position right now, about 5 points clear of the breakdancers. It's then Sim Racing Norway by Eek Santred Saljford in 9th position ahead of JC Academy, who rounds out the top 10. It is then Sim Racing Norway by Bill Og Motorbloggen in 11th position ahead of Sim Racing Norway Amateur Endurance Team. Result Clothing Team sits in 13th ahead of Blade Design. Snell's Pace Racing Team in 15th. Lumen Motorsport in 16th position. 17th is Crest Autosport. No points on the board yet for Area Motorsport at the back of the order. Of course, that's Woodhouse and Gibbons. They were waiting to put the ball, some points onto the board. Right then, practice is coming to a close here, and it's like I timed it all so perfectly. 30 seconds to go until we get out onto the field, and the wonderful Dan Lewis out there has sent me all of the statistics with the updated class win list, because of course there has been a few changes in the way of our drivers. It means that actually Luke James is now a double class winner in the amateur field, taking 2 victories for him. Joshua Symes taking 1 victory, Marshall Say a victory, Mail and Evans all taking a class victory now because of those promotions. In your Pro-Ams, Mikalainen and Sellers have obviously moved up, so therefore Lucas Henschel has now taken a double victory. It's Stuart Gibbons, David Price, Marcus Gesdow and Thomas Coombe who have taken wins. Remember, Gesdow has taken a class victory in the semi-pro, in the Pro-Ams, before he was actually in the Pro-Am field. Like, he took a Pro-Am victory while still being in the amateur field. He's been promoted up, so that Pro-Am victory now goes his way. And I have to say thank you to Dan Lewis for sending that my way. I do love my statistics. As you know, it's always great to have them on hand. And I will have them up to date in my Word document as well, so I can tell exactly when those were. I was a bit off the pace. I had a PC reset this week, and therefore I missed the fact that there were class changes until about an hour ago. So I'm certainly on top of all of it today. There, you can see down there that there are over 40 cars trying to go around the Silverstone National circuit here. And, oh my word, you can just see how busy it is. Look at this. There are so many cars out there that all be trying to find a space to not... Oh, my word. Look at this. Through Woodcote, in towards Luffield. Just absolute carnage. Just cars trying to find some empty space out there. That is very much what it is going to be around here. We are going to ride on board with Ben Oucher for a lap of the Silverstone National Circuit. We come through turn number 1 there of Cops up towards the Maggots and Beckett's complex. We go Maggots here, and then we turn off to the right-hand side. We cut on to the straight and up towards Brooklands as we'll get onto the braking zone. It's a very short lap here, of course. Less than a minute. It does mean in 20 minutes of racing, we're going to get more than 20 laps of asking. I'm going to guess about 24 laps of asking. Right, you guys cannot see my track map right now. I'm hoping the track map's in the right position for you guys, because looking at this track map is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, it's not quite in the right position. Let's get this track map sorted for you guys, because looking at the track map, having all of these cars is absolutely ridiculous right now. Look how many there are out there. It's absolutely just ridiculous how many cars there are That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted there. Look how many there are lapping around this circuit. Absolutely ridiculous. We're still on board with Oucher here. That's how quick a lap was. We ran out of... we were just doing a track map, and Oucher's done an additional lap. Oucher is the fastest out there right now. He's looking to try and find his way up the order. How about... previous champion Dan Mould? Of course, he had to back out of season number 10 due to an injury. He's not 100% recovered, but he is back out there trying to get behind the wheel once more, and it's lovely to see the SRL Rosso machine going out for another season of competition. He is going to come up towards the timing line, and can Dan Mould put a lap time on the board? If so, where is he going to find himself? He finds himself in to provisional pole position. Just what the number 62 machine would want to see. Shamoy Samuels heading out there right now, looking to try and put a lap time on the board as well. As that was, trying to figure out who that was around at the final corner. Not the final corner, at turn number 2, I believe it was there. Turn number 3 it was that we saw a car around, but that was Josh Taylor who was around at the turn number 3, where we cut off on Maggots in towards the straight in the centre of the circuit. Right, Shamoy Samuel here looking to try and put a lap time onto the board. If you are new around here and you don't know why we've got such a rainbow on the left-hand side, your blue coloured numbers and little bar is your pro drivers, your green is your semi-pros, your purple is your pro-ams, your red is your amateur. Shamoy Samuel throws himself off at turn number 1. This will not be a valid lap for him. Chris McIntosh, he's showed a fair bit of pace recently in the races as well. Can McIntosh find his way up the order here? Right now, he has not got a lap time on the board, so he's just waiting to come across the timing line and see what he can do. We will hide that track map now because it is just... it just shows you how busy it is out there, isn't it? Trying to find space right now is going to be impossible. McIntosh still does not have a valid lap time on the board. This is his 4th attempt now at trying to get a lap time onto the board, and it is just not working out. Tony Walker finds a huge amount of pace that time around there. It's good enough for 3rd position right now. It was 2nd momentarily, but Borkland took that away from him, so it became a 3rd position. Luke James, wowzers, he's all the way up the order there. In the amateur field, the number 65 machine finds himself flying past the rest, and those amateurs at the moment sprinkling themselves in. Chris Evans in 10th, Matt Pierce 16th, Scott Malcolm 23rd, drops down to 24th. But there is, just a scattering of amateur drivers right now, but it's also showing you how important it is to try and find some space out there. Gordon Haig looking to try and get a lap time onto the board. Driver in 3rd position in the Pro Championship right now, just behind his teammate Borkland, behind the championship leader of Daniel Downing as well. Downing not getting a lap time on the board that he would have been hoping for at the moment. Walker improves yet again, almost gets onto the front row past Ben Oucher, but it is Dan Mould still on that provisional pole position spot as drivers find some time out there. Gordon Haig is only quick enough for 20th position right now, but as it stands, the top 33 drivers are separated by less than a second right now. Marco Mikalainen stepping into the semi-pros this week finds himself up into 8th position overall, part of the pole position team alongside Paul Hurley, of course. Talking of Paul Hurley, he finds himself up to 23rd position. And again, your amateur drivers just placing themselves up the order. Chris Evans goes all the way up to 8th place now. So these drivers are finding a huge amount of time. Mark Draper finds himself up just behind Dan Mould in the sister team of the SRL, less than half a second. Carl Hardy finding himself up to 3rd position. Great news for the Result Clothing team, running in that slightly different livery from Hardy, of course, this season, as he goes across the timing line and up towards turn number 1. Gordon Haig improves on his personal best. That goes into 10th position. Look at the way the rear end of that car kicked out. This will be an invalid lap now, but the way that the rear end of that car kicked out there through turn number 1. Daniel Downing looking to try and climb up the order. He is pulling along the number 96 machine around the circuit right now. And that 96 machine is Joshua Syme inside your inside as I'm trying to find where he's gone actually, because Joshua Symes just found time actually by following Daniel Downing around. Where is it going to be? It's 24th overall for your rookie driver, Joshua Symes. I was looking at him and then he suddenly disappeared from my view, and that's because actually by working with a Downing there, he's been able to find a huge amount of time. Bradley Sellers have stepped into the semi-pros for the first time this week. He is up to 9th position. It is just, honestly, this track is it's just full. There's just no space around there. Constant cars lapping at the moment. Vigard Olsen-Lear not finding the pace right now that he has shown in previous races this season. Of course, 2 seasons ago, when he was in the amateur, he managed to take just 1 class victory. Last season, he went on to take the championship. A number of victories under his belt. This is just another learning season for Olsen-Lear in the Pro-Ams for the first time. Chris Evans, no learning season for the number 012 machine. As he comes through turn number 1, he is 11th fastest out there right now overall, and he is sitting clear of Luke James. But what I should mention is even though he's 11th and Luke James is 17th, the gap between them is less than a 10th of a second. It is so tight out there. You can see the top 25 on the left-hand side separated by about half a second. 41 drivers in this session, and 41 drivers have put lap times onto the board. I think that's the first time this season we've actually seen every driver in the qualifying session get a lap time onto the board. So that is nice to see. Matt Pierce is now your fastest amateur driver as it stands. Your fastest Pro-Am is David Price. He's gone into the Pro-Ams for the first time this season. He's been running around in the amateur class, of course, taking the double class victory in amateurs last week. Means he's been promoted to Pro-Ams. It does mean he's been stripped of those class victories, of course, because he is now a Pro-Am driver. However, he's looking to place it on pole position in class, potentially take a class victory in the Pro-Ams instead. He's lost his double class victory last week. Can he take double class victory today? Well, with only the top 10 inverted and your race 1 results into race number 2, it does mean that our Pro-Am drivers, if they're outside the top 10 here, we could be seeing them stay in relatively the same order. But race number 2 has always been more hectic than race number 1. We heard a little bit of an engine failure as we came onto this back straight here, onto the Wellington straight, I should say. And of course, it does mean that a car has hit the wall and gone out. But with it being qualifying, they can just get themselves back down to pit lane, get them back out again, especially with how short a lap time here is, 58.6 being the fastest. Look how close your top 4 are right now. Dan Mole, pole position ahead of the 2 SRL purple teammates. They are wanting to catch up to Haig and Borkland in the team's championship. So this is great news for Downing and Draper of the SRL purple team, who are looking right now that they could start 2nd and 3rd position in the order. Kyle Hardy looking to have a really good result here in qualifying, going for 4th position, less than the 10th away from provisional pole position. Only pro drivers have taken pole position so far this season. Mould has taken pole twice. Downing has taken pole once. Are we going to see either of those repeat, or are we going to see a new name towards the top there? That was Ben Ultra, who was parked over to the side, just waiting for the right moment to find a space here, because it is all about trying to find the space. He runs wide through Luffield, gets himself back turned in, and as he heads up towards Woodcock, he'll be back onto full throttle. And if I'm not mistaken there, he is pulling himself around John Brown. No, he's pulling himself around Brown's teammate, which is our lovely friend Daniel Lewis, of course, sending us the statistics that we so wanted with race victories. So I will keep on jumping across onto that Discord, of course, because I do need to have a little look at those statistics. I do love statistics, don't you? Anyway, here in qualifying, 3 minutes left to go in this session. It's Dan Mould on provisional pole position right now, looking to try and take what would be a 3rd pole position in 4 rounds. Daniel Downing is going to be looking to try and just find his way an inch further over the line here and find his 2nd pole position of the season, and everyone else behind on the hunt for their first poles, whether it's in class, whether it is overall. Could we see a non-pro driver take pole position for the first time this season? Right now, the answer is no. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. John Brown improves, Chris McIntosh improves. Brown up to 8th, McIntosh up to 16th. That was Daniel Downing going very deep into Nagats, almost into the back of another car. Avoids contact though. 2 minutes left in this session here, and then we are going to prepare ourselves for the first of 2 races. If you're new and you're not sure how the format of this one goes, well, the 15-minute open qualifying session is about to come to a close. The order from the results of this qualifying session will determine the grid for race number 1. Race number 1 results will then determine the grid for race number 2, but with a twist, your top 10 drivers will be inverted. As we see cars just jumping out the way. This is the thing about such a small, tight circuit. You've got over 40 cars just trying to fight. If you've had a slow lap or you've invalidated a lap, you just want to get out of the way. Finding the space, it does result in just drive off the circuit. Get off the circuit, get out the way. Just like we saw Oucher doing earlier as well, coming to a stop even on the exit of Brooklands in towards the Luffield complex. More cars going off into the wall there. That's what the that's what the smoke was being kicked up into the air. Someone has found their way into the wall. It was Kim Borkland who found his way into the wall. No improvement for Borkland here. Only 12th position on the grid. This is going to be a very tight race. You've got 41 cars going around a circuit that never was meant for 41 cars. It is going to be absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be really difficult to keep up, keep on top of everything, because everyone is going to be in a battle throughout the entire race. So I'm going to try and do my best to get as much of the coverage that I can here during the broadcast. But I mean, there is going to be battles up and down the field. You know, the entire field is going to be involved in some sort of battle here throughout the entire race, because there'll be, if you put these cars end to end around the circuit, you know, they'll cover half the circuit. So it is very much going to be a very, very difficult race as a broadcaster here to try and cover everything. I'm going to do my absolute damnedest to bring you everything that I possibly can in the live pictures. We'll catch up with anything we can as well in replays, but we might not get many replays during the race because there'll be constantly something going on. That being said, my prediction over here is saying 21 laps of asking in the next 20 minutes of racing here at the wonderful Silverstone circuit. Right then, let's have a look at how the grid is going to line itself up here for race number 1 of 2. Dan Mould starts from pole position for the 3rd time this season. Both times he started from pole, he has gone on to win the race. In race number 1, Daniel Downing will be starting from 2nd, ahead of Mark Draper. Carl Hardy will be starting in 4th, and Gordon Haig in 5th position. Demis Titular will be on the grid in 6th place. 7th will go the way of Ben Oucher, with John Brown on the grid in 8th place. Tony Walker will be in 9th, ahead of Marco Mikkelainen. Matt Pearce will be on the grid in 11th position, ahead of Kim Borkland in 12th place. JB Dejay will be starting in 13th, ahead of Bradley Sellers. Chris Evans will be starting in 15th position, ahead of Chris McIntosh. Craig Walters from 17th. Peter Van Gool will be starting from 18th position on the grid. Row number 10 will be Luke James ahead of David Price, followed by Thomas Coombe in 21st and Alan McCain in 22nd position. We're only just halfway through this grid. Ronald de Jong will be starting 23rd position ahead of Chris London. Daniel Lewis will be starting in 25th with Marcus Gesdal in 26th position. Fraser Garrity will be starting in 27th ahead of Josh Taylor. Lucas Henschel will be starting in 29th, Joshua Syme in 30th. Simon Moldecleve will be starting in 31st ahead of Vigard Olsen-Leah. Paul Hurley in 33rd position. Moldecleve will be starting 31st ahead of Olsen-Leah. Hurley will be starting 33rd ahead of Deck Crafter. Torben Mail in 35th. Scott Malcolm in 36th position. And the last driver to be within 1 second of pole position, Christian Larson, 7th position on the grid, ahead of Lewis McCaig in 38th. Shamoy Samuel will be starting in 39th, ahead of Per Harvard. Hastad from the rear of your amateurs, but it will be Stuart Gibbons who will be starting from the rear of the entire field here. What a massive grid. They disappear around Woodcock there, the final corner on the circuit, because it is just such a huge field of drivers preparing to go racing for the first of 2 races. 20 minutes for the first race. It will be 25 for race number 2, but our 41 drivers are prepared and ready to go green flag racing around the Silverstone National circuit. There is bound to be issues, especially in towards Maggots and Beckett's for the first time, in towards Brooklands and Luffield for the first time as well. Drivers are going to find it a little bit challenging to get through cleanly. The lights are up and we prepare to go racing. We are green and away here at Silverstone as the 41 cars head up towards turn number 1 to get this race underway. It looks like we have managed to get through turn number 1 without an incident, which is excellent to see, but we'll be heading up into Maggots and Beckett's in just a moment's time. And it is going to be side by side here with Carl Hardy looking to try and get up the inside of Mark Draper as we get into the Maggots complex, as that is going to be around the number 318 machine. Daniel Lewis finds himself falling down the order through Maggots and Beckett's. We knew there was always going to be issues. Marcus Gesdow has also had issues on the opening lap of asking. Both of those drivers will need to come down pit lane after this opening lap of the race. Ben Oucher trying to get around the outside of Carl Hardy here on the opening lap. They are fighting out for 4th position as we come up towards the timing line to finish lap number 1. All of our drivers, though, are off of the opening lap, with only a couple who will have to come down pit lane. Hardy tries to keep it to the inside of Oucher. There's a little bit of a nudge there, but Ben Oucher moves up into 4th position on the outside. On the inside of turn number 1, and will hold on to 4th place. It is going to be onto the grass there. Chris McIntosh, he comes back on, but somehow it looks like everyone has avoided him. And it means that he has fallen down the order significantly here, but nobody else caught up in in McIntosh sliding to the inside of the Maggots corner as we went across in towards the straight, the Wellington straight, into Brooklands here, and we switch across to Luffield. We jump towards the rear though, because our amateur drivers are having a little bit of a fight between themselves, as well as it is side-by-side action between Thomas Coombe and Luke James as we come through the final turn and up towards turn number 1. It is the outside for Coombe, the inside for James. James brakes a little bit later there. Coombe braking earlier, trying to get the switch across on the exit of turn number 1. It is going to be the inside now as we switch through Maggots. Well, it's the outside on the initial left-hander, but then as we switch across to the right, Coombe will be able to get up to the inside of James. They're still side by side here as the lap continues. It's not the only fight there is right now. Tony Walker and Dennis Ditchler are also side by side between themselves, and Borkland is side by side with John Brown as well. It's 2 by 2 into the Luffield complex here. It's going to be slightly wider there from Titchler, but he'll keep it to the inside. And now Borkland trying to get to the inside of John Brown as well to move up into 9th position overall. Brown down to 10th place right now. Luke James does get up another position as he gets past Chris London as well as we come over the timing line. Vigard Olsen-Lee has had some issues, and so has Marko Mikalainen. Look at the front end of Mikalainen's machine. It is non-existent anymore. The front end damage on that one is going to be causing issues for Mikalainen. Back towards the front though, and Daniel Downing and Dan Mould are going to be fighting at it now for the lead of the overall race. Downing to the left-hand side of the track. Every race so far this season, the man who's got pole position has gone on to win race number 1. An accident in the background there. Not too sure who that was that ran off. Could be Chris London, but it is going to be Daniel Downing who might find his way into the lead of this one. Dan Mould in 2nd position. It is still side-by-side action behind. Mouldercleave trying to hold on the outside with Alan McCain to the inside as they come out of Luffield and up towards Woodcock. Here is side by side behind as well. And it's just no matter where you look, drivers are trying to make the overtakes. They're trying to get their cars alongside. Moldecleave once again sticks it to the inside of McCain here. The two of these drivers swapping over classes. McCain down into the Pro-Ams, Moldecleave up into the Semi-Pros, but they're still out there on track, giving it a proper good scrap. They take their points from overall race results, of course. Moldecleave keeps it to the inside of McCain. McCain trying to do the switch across here because Moldecleave is going to push it out wide. It is side by side once again between Alan McCain and Simon Moldecleave as we head up towards the Luffield complex here, through into Woodcock. The left-hand side is Moldecleave's, and he keeps his car ahead of McCain for the time being as we come up towards the timing line. Dan Mould trying to keep up with Daniel Downing here, isn't quite able to do that. Chris London has come down pit lane to fix the car. He is coming out of pit lane in the shot there. And Lucas Henshaw is on the rear end of this train of drivers that is trying to fight as well. We are going to go though 3 wide for a moment along the timing line there. Stuart Gibbons backs in behind Hafstad though, and then it's Torburn Mail just up ahead as well. But Hafstad now drops down the order. Stuart Gibbons gets to the right-hand side, looking to try and make this move. It is going to be Gibbons to the inside as we switch into the right-hand side. There's contact between Gibbons, and there's more contact there. It was Gibbons and Hafstad who came together initially. It was then Mail who pushed Gibbons even further wide, and Gibbons is the man who's come off worst in all of that with that bit of contact. We head up towards Brooklands here. Once again, we jump up a little bit further into what is a huge train of drivers fighting it out for. This fight goes all the way up to David Price, 18th place right now. So drivers will be looking to see if they can find any positioning. Of course, they do have those overtaking opportunities, especially up in towards turn number 3 and then in towards into the Brooklands Luffield complex as well. So number 1, if you can get a good run out of the final turn, you do have an opportunity. However, it's not always necessarily going to work out for you. Chris McIntosh has gone deep into Maggots. It's allowed Ronald Dion to switch to his inside and make the move up into 15th place overall as we head up now towards Brooklands as well. It is going to be single file, a little bit of a deeper line there from De Jong. McIntosh trying to see if he can run a slightly alternate line, find some pace on the exit there. Marko Mikalainen, the front end damage there, not really impacting him too much actually at the Silverstone circuit. There are those straights, but it's such a short track that it's not really impacting him in the longer run of this one. Here goes McIntosh then to the inside of Ronald Dion up towards turn number 1. He backs out of it, decides it is not a good opportunity to try and make that move just yet. Lewis McKay is going to try and get past Per Havard Hafstad as they come across the timing line. Nope, McKay backs out of that one as well in towards turn number 1. No overtake that is going to be made there. Josh Taylor running around the back end of Lucas Henschel. They're fighting out for 4th in class. It's 24th overall between these two drivers. Henschel leading the Pro-Am Championship right now. Josh Taylor a little bit further back looking to do something. It's once again side by side up at the front though. Dan Mould is going to try and carry the speed on the outside of Luffield in trying to make the move for the race lead here. We come up towards the timing line, and it is going to be the inside line for Daniel Downing up towards Copse Corner. Is Dan Mould braking a little bit earlier, tucks it behind, looking to try and get the speed on the exit, places it to the right hand side of the circuit here. Mark Draper just behind. It's 3 SRL boys fighting out at the very front under 2 different team banners. Ben Oucher's looking to try and get involved in this as well, but it is going to be the inside for Dan Mould into Maggots onto the Wellington straight. Downing though can carry more speed on that wider line. Oucher looking to where he can place the Elantra to get into the fight with the Audis at the front of this one. Downing is going to have the inside on Dan Mould. Mould though, if he can carry the speed around the exit, around the outside of Brooklands, he could place it to the inside of Luffield, and that's exactly what he is going to be able to do. Mould to the inside of Downing through the Luffield complex. A little tiny nudge there as they tickle each other through the final turn and up towards the timing line. They are going at it for this race win. They have both taken wins this season, both taken 2 wins. Oucher has taken 2 wins as well. Mark Draper on a hunt for a first victory of the season if he's able to make his way past his teammate of Downing and Dan Mould once again. The 17 and the 62 are side by side, and Mark Draper finds himself evacuating the racing surface, and he is out of race number 1. I don't know if there was some sort of failure there for him, or if that was, I don't even know what could have happened for Draper there. It's to the outside for Daniel Downing, as Mould and Downing have swapped their positioning from last lap. They settle in back into single file, and Carl Hardy is back up there once more. We go back to look at the fight between McIntosh and De Jong. Hugely sideways. David Price is going to see that and think, how can I find myself into this one? Mark Draper is back out on track, 17th position. Did he just miss his braking points, perhaps, in everything that was going on up towards Maggers? Because the way that he just swerved off to the left and disappeared, it looked like he just had no brakes. I thought it might have been an equipment failure, but the fact that he's out there racing once again, and he's only lost it down to 17th, you know, I would say that it was more a misbraking point that he then tried to avoid hitting his own teammate, so he decided to jump off the racing surface instead. Definitely the better option. You never want to crash into your own teammate. Kim Bortman wants to try and move further up the order. He's got to get past Tony Walker in order to do that and get into 6th position here. He is over the rear end. We are halfway through race number 1 of 2 here at Silverstone, and it is absolutely flown by. The constant fighting, the constant changing of positions means there's not been a moment to rest here at the Silverstone circuit as we head into turn number 1 at Copse Corner. Lucas Henschel is holding 4th in class right now, but he's going to want to try and take 3rd past Alan McCain. It will be 22nd overall. He's trying to do that to brake a little bit earlier into Copse and get the speed on the exit. McCain's placed it on the curbing, but it does look like Henschel is still going to be able to place it side by side with the Honda. Is McCain going to close the door? No, the door is open, and Henschel places it to the inside here as we come around turn number 3 and up towards Brooklands here, as a great fight going on between Gesdal and Lewis at the back as well. Both though have had some issues, but they are fighting it out for what is 37th position out on the track. Paul Hurley trying to get around the outside of Scott Malcolm here for 29th position. It will turn to the inside line for Hurley as he comes through Luffield. And as he exits Luffield, he does get the number 197 machine ahead of the 74. But Malcolm puts his nose back in to try and get to the inside himself now as we come up towards Copse. And it is going to be the inside line for Scott Malcolm, side by side with Paul Hurley. Pole position driver against the Lumen Motorsport machine. But it is the pole position driver keeping himself ahead for now. Paul Hurley keeps himself in the 29th position as Lucas Henschel has run off wide coming onto the Wellington straight, so they have swapped their positions, and it's a bit of fighting going on with cars just swerving, trying to figure out where they are going to make their overtakes, where they're going to try and place their car to make the position change. John Brown is to the inside of Dennis Ditcher as they come through Woodcock and up towards Copse Corner now, and it is to the outside once again for Titchler, but that wider line seeming to work out for him in pace. But now JB Dejay is trying to get involved, giving Brown a little bit of a push, and that does mean Brown gets to the inside of Titchler once more as we head up towards Wellington Straight. JB Dejay trying to keep it tight again, keeping it behind Brown. Is he going to push Brown? Is he going to move to the left-hand side as we appear on towards Brooklands? He's continuing to push Brown here. He doesn't go for the move. He's trying to get Brown to fight Titchler, maybe to see something happen between the two of them so that he can find his own way past. But by not overtaking Brown, JB Dejay could be under attack from Bradley Sellers in this one, as Sellers in the 93 machine is now all over the rear end of JB Dejay, and even Peter Van Gool is not too far behind either. Van Gool swapping out of the Civic and into the Audi. They're allowed one swap across the course of the season. This is it for Peter Van Gool. Does mean that we don't see that lovely livery anymore from either of the Result clothing teams. That one that reminded me of the old Honda Yuasa Racing liveries from the BTCC days. Christian Larson coming over the timing line here. He is running in 35th, trying to get past Lewis McCaig for 34th position, but unable to make any leeway in that fight right now. Also not making any leeway in the fighting is Ben Ouchy, still behind Daniel Downing, still behind Dan Mould, but your top three in this race are your top three in the championship. The top three in terms of, sorry, not in the championship I should say, top three in terms of the most victories in the season. All three of the drivers have taken 2 wins apiece heading into today. And it looks like Dan Mould is en route to continue the statistic. Whoever gets pole position will go on to win race number 1. That is the way that it is continuing to be at the moment. Remember, race number 2 is about to come up in your way in about 5 minutes' time, and to finish race number 1. They'll have a quick pause, quick break, and we're getting out for race number 2. It'll be a slightly longer race, 25 minutes. Because your top 10 from this race are going to be inverted. That's deep there from Craig Walters. It allows Thomas Kuhn to get up the inside of the Audi, and Kuhn in the election now makes the overtake. Ronald de Jong gets overtaken by David Price as well, and could be under attack from Fraser Geraghty on that wider line as we head in towards Luffield and up towards at the end of the lap. Most of our side-by-side battling has now died down, with our drivers mostly running single file, looking for those moves where they could go. Larson trying to get past McKay, goes around the outside. That wider line into Brooklands not working out as they now switch across into Luffield. Kim Borkland still all over the rear end of Tony Walker, looking for 6th position in this one. Walker runs a little bit deeper there. Borkland looking to try and get the way through. Is Haig potentially going to try and back up Walker a little bit to allow Borkland to make that move through? Because Haig doesn't seem to be closing on in Carl Hardy's direction. Borkland looks to the inside. Quite late there, big moment to try and get to the inside of Walker. Still getting on the brakes though, doesn't catch Walker out, doesn't make Walker miss his braking point, and they remain in the order that they were into. Brooklands out of Woodcock and up towards the timing line. 3 more minutes left on the board. We're looking at about 4 more laps of asking from our drivers here, and Dan Mould is the man that looks like he is going to take victory number 3 of the season. Thomas Kuhn looking to try and get past Craig Walters. He's 20th overall. He is 2nd in class. David Price looking to take a first-class victory in the first week. He is officially a Pro-Am driver. He's looking very strong out there. So is Matt Pierce. Matt Pierce is actually higher up the order than the Pro-Am leader. He's sitting in 13th right now, not in with a chance of an invert. The chance on the invert right now is this fight going on, and JB Dejay is going to be trying his best to try and keep Peter Van Gool and Bradley Sellers behind. Van Gool trying a slightly different line to Sellers there into Brooklands. It does not work out for him at this stage of asking, and he's going to need something to work out at some stage soon, because they are running out of laps in the opening race of the day. Thomas Kuhn keeping it ahead of Craig Walters here as we come through Luffield and out of turn number 6 and up towards Woodcock. Now that was a little bit of gravel being kicked up. Kuhn has left the door wide open for Craig Walters on the inside there through Woodcock and up towards turn number 1 of Cox Corner. And Craig Walters gets 19th overall. It doesn't affect Kuhn's class position, but of course it will affect the points he takes out of this one, with them taking the points from overall race results. JB Dejay keeps John Brown at bay for the time being, but is that going to change when we come in towards Woodcock? Because for Dejay, he now has an additional car between himself and missing out on the invert. Sellers and Van Gool behind will be hoping something happens between these two as Brown touches the rear end of Dejay. He's going to be hoping something happens here so they can get inside the top 10 and benefit from the invert, which is smaller this season, despite the average grid sizes for these events actually being bigger. We didn't maintain these huge grid sizes up to this point in the season, in season number 10. So it's a smaller invert, but more cars. So more cars trying to fight for less positions at the front of the order. And trying to make the most out of that race. Tell you what though, Matt Pierce, if anything happens in this group ahead of him, he's only 3 places away from a invert position and an invert pole position here. So if something was to happen, contact a few cars off the circuit ahead of him, he could find himself actually into an invert himself, which would be brilliant for the amateur driver, bearing in mind the next driver in the amateurs is all the way down in 24th place. Joshua Symes holding on to second right now, ahead of Luke James. We head though with 15 seconds onto the board, onto the white flag of asking. Dan Mould goes on to the final lap of the race here. Tony Walker has been keeping Borkland at bay all race long. Can he try and make a last-ditch effort in getting past Borkland's teammate of Gordon Hay, because he's sitting right there in a sim racing Norway by Polykemi sandwich at the moment. Borkland gets all over the rear end, but it's not going to change between them. JB Dejay gets to the inside of Titchler. Dejay is going to keep himself ahead of this one. John Brown is now going to try and get himself back up to 9th position if he can. Bradley Sellers and Peter Van Gool behind will be thinking, how can I get into this top 10? And that is how John Brown comes together with Titchler. Sellers 9th, Van Gool 10th. John Brown is going to miss out on the invert. Titchler falls down the order, but Dan Mould takes victory number 3 of the season. Downing takes second. Oucher rounds out the podium. Carl Hardy wins your semi-pro field. Matt Pierce wins your amateur field, and David Price will be victor in the pro-am field. But for Demis Titchler, it is a lowly 22nd place of asking at the end of race number 1 after fighting for a top 10 result. Van Gool missing out on 9th by just 22 hundredths, but it does mean Peter Van Gool is going to start race number 2 from the very front of the field. What an end to that one, and we will have a quick look back at this one as well. Here was the contact for Demis Titchler. He moved across to the right-hand side. You've got, of course, John Brown there. Titchler's got Dejay on his inside. Oh, no, you don't. How dare you? It went across to the warm-up session. Don't worry, we'll get the replay. When it jumps across to the replay, the warm-up session, it stops my replays. Right, let's get this replay here. Up towards Luffield. Here we go. So he's in the middle. John Brown's on the outside. Oh, do you know what? Brown's turning in. Titchler does go a little bit straight though. However, Brown has turned in on that one, in what looked like his usual turning in spot. And the fact that they were 3 wide, you just can't turn in on your usual turning in spot. So for Demis Titchler, it is around, down and out in that one. 22nd position of asking for Demis Titchler at the end of race number 1. With that being said then, let's have a look at our results then from the first race of the day. Victory for Dan Mould. As I say, it's win number 3 for Mould overall and in class as well. And for Dan Mould, he continues the streak. Every time a driver has got pole position, they've turned it into race victory in race number 1. Daniel Downing coming home in second, and Ben Oucher rounding out the podium. Carl Hardy takes semi-pro victory for what is the first time in my list. However, let's just have a little look at the proper statistics here. The updated statistics for Carl Hardy. It is a first-class win for Kyle Hardy. Excellent job for him. Gordon Haig coming home 5th ahead of Tony Walker. Kim Borkland in 7th. JB Dejay gets an 8th, and getting into the invert. Final lap of the asking. Bradley Sellers finishing 9th. Peter Van Gool rounding out your top 10. It was then John Brown who finished in 11th ahead of your rookie winner. Sorry, your amateur winner, I should say. I do apologise. Your amateur winner, Matt Pearce, coming home 12th overall. An absolutely brilliant result from the number 83 machine. Chris McIntosh came home in 13th ahead of Mark Draper. David Price winning the Pro-Am Championship. Now, for both of those, Matt Pearce, he's taken 2 pole positions in class, but it was a first-class win for him. And for David Price in your semi-pro field, it was a second-class victory of the season for Price, inheriting a class win from the promotion of Sellers and Mikalainen. Then it was Ronald de Jong finishing in 16th ahead of Fraser Garrity, Craig Walters in 18th. Thomas Kuhn finished in 19th ahead of Simon Maldecleve in 20th position. Dec Crowther from 21st. Damas Titchler came home in 22nd position after that last lap contact. Alan McCain in 23rd position. Joshua Syme coming home in 24th ahead of Luke James. Lucas Henschel came home in 26th ahead of Josh Taylor. Shamoy Samuel from 28th position. Paul Hurley in 29th. Stuart Gibbons coming home in 30th position at the end of that one. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. I do apologise and all of that. Let's go the right way. Scott Malcolm came home in 31st position ahead of Torben Mayle. Vigard Olsen-Lear from 33rd. Lewis McKay took home 34th position ahead of Christian Larsen. Halvard Hafstad in 36th. Marcus Gesdal came home in 37th position ahead of Daniel Lewis. Chris Evans from 39th position. Out of the race early doors was Marko Mikalainen. About halfway through the race in the end, and then also out was Chris London within a couple of laps as well. So issues for a few of our drivers. A real shame for Mikalainen stepping into the Pro-Am field, of course. The semi-pro field, of course, for the first time here today. What we do hope to see is them all back out on track again for race number 2. Now, no matter where you're watching, I hope you are enjoying your evening. If you're watching over on the SRL TV YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up as well to show your support. If you're watching over on either of the Joseph White broadcasting channels, show your support over there as well by following and hitting the subscribe button. We are going to be taking a break at Joseph White Broadcasting for about 6 days, which is a bit of the, well, it's actually the longest break that we'll have on the channel of 2026 since Christmas time last year. This will be the longest break that we've ever had on the channel. What it does mean is it will be live again for the next time on Joseph White Broadcasting next Friday. So we actually have almost a whole week of no broadcasts over on the Joseph White Broadcasting channel. However, we will have a load of highlight videos being published over the course of the next 7 days as well. So make sure that you are getting subscribed over to the Joseph White Broadcasting YouTube channel so you can catch up with all the race highlights, including the SRL TCR highlights as well. Last week's race at the Nürburgring as well as this week's race at Silverstone will be up before the end of the weekend. So make sure that you are checking those ones out. It is going to be the end of the warm-up session here. I wasn't going to pull someone in because by the time I finished talking through the race results, we only had about a minute left. And then we've got to grid up and talk through your entire grid order once again for race number 2. So I'm going to have a quick drink whilst they grid up. And then we are preparing ourselves for race number 2. We'll talk you through the grid order. Okay then, let's find out how we are starting race number 2 here around the Silverstone circuit. And with your top 10 inverted, it means that Peter Van Gool is going to be starting on pole position here in the second race of the day. Bradley Sellers is going to be starting alongside him in P2. Both of them getting moved up into the top 10 following the last lap contact, of course, between Brown and Titchler. Dejay will be starting in third position ahead of Kim Borkland, who will be looking to move his way quickly to the front of the order in the Sim Racing Norway by Poly Academy team, and along with his teammate Gordon Haig will be starting in 6th. Ahead of Haig is Tony Walker, of course. Kyle Hardy will be starting in 7th, Ben Oucher in 8th, Daniel Downing from 9th, and your race 1 winner, Dan Mould, in 10th position. No driver has been able to win race 1 and race 2 so far this season. Missing out on your invert, and therefore, in the order they finish race number 1, is the rest of your field. John Brown will be starting in 11th ahead of Matt Pierce. Chris McIntosh will be starting in 13th. Mark Draper in 14th position. David Price will be starting in 15th ahead of Ronald de Jong in 16th. Fraser Garrity will be starting in 17th position with Craig Walters in 18th. Thomas Kuhn will be starting in 19th ahead of Simon Moldecleve in 20th position. Dec Crowther from 21st ahead of Demis Titular in 22nd position. Alan McCain will be starting in 23rd ahead of Joshua Syme in 24th place. Luke James will be starting in 25th position. Lucas Henschel from 26th ahead of Josh Taylor. Shamoy Samuel will be starting in 28th. Paul Hurley from 29th. And Stuart Gibbons is going to round out your top 30 on the grid for race number 2. Scott Malcolm will be starting 31st. Torbjørn Mayle from 32nd position ahead of Vigard Olsen Leah. Lewis McCaig will be starting from 34th with Christian Larsen in 35th position. Harvard Hafstad will be starting in 36th place ahead of Marcus Gesdal. Daniel Lewis from 38th ahead of Chris Evans. And if we see the two drivers who did not finish race number 1 on the track once more, which we certainly do, Marco Michelino will be starting from 40th. Chris London from 41st on the grid. What it does mean, of course, is we are going to be seeing 25 minutes onto the board, I should say, for race number 2, and it will be 26 laps of racing action. We went for 21, so we are looking for, in race number 1, so we are looking for an extra 5 laps of racing around the Silverstone circuit. When you're doing 21 laps anyway, those extra 5 laps really aren't a lot. For our drivers then, as they disappear around the final turn of Woodcock there and up towards the Luffield complex. As we stare into the grandstands, I'm so familiar with sitting in myself as I visit this circuit every year. 25 minutes on the board. We are green and away for the second time tonight. 41 cars once again head themselves up in towards turn number 1, and for a moment in the background there, it was 4 wide as we come up towards turn number 1. Is it going to maintain 4 wide? Yes, it looks like that it was. A little bit of contact, Daniel Lewis sliding his way through turn number 1. More contact there, and it's Carl Hardy. Sideways, someone's just found themselves around. Dan Mould finds himself around on the opening lap of Asking, but he does get himself back onto the track, and he will be all the way down in 38th position, but has a fun job ahead of him trying to make his way back through the field. Lots of side-by-side action going on the opening lap of Asking. There is a fight for second, though, as Kim Borkman, I said he'll be wanting to try and move up the order quickly. He's into third right now, but he cannot dispatch Sellers. Peter Van Gool has pulled a second advantage at the front of the order. He has had a brilliant opening lap here in race number 2, looking to maximise his points in that semi-pro field. Ben Oucher in 8th position, looking to move up the order, as is Daniel Downing up to 7th position right now. They want to find their way back to the front, but it does look like we'll continue with the statistic here that the race 1 winner will not go on to win race number 2. Carl Hardy falls down the order, issues for him up towards turn number 1. Shamoy Samuel also has had issues to find himself down the order in all of this one. There's just so much, once again, going on in such a short space of time. Trying to keep up today with all of it is tricky. I can see the instance on the right-hand side. That's how I'm able to call it out quite so quickly as I am. However, this is the fight here with David Price under attack from Thomas Coombe. Coombe looking to try and get to the inside. He certainly does so, and that was Carl Hardy doing a big old drift through Luffield there, throwing away position to Josh Taylor and Joshua Syme as well as they find their way through. Ben Oucher looking to find his way through, and he's fighting out with Daniel Downing now, looking to try and get 6th position in this race as the pro drivers fight it out. Even in race number 2 so far this season, only pro drivers have gone on to take overall race victory. We come through turn number 3 then onto the Wellington straight. Oucher and Downing still side by side in their fights as we come up towards Brooklands. It'll be the inside for Downing, the outside for Oucher, but Oucher's going to be able to carry that speed to give him the inside then into Luffield. Behind, it is 3 wide in the mid-pack as we watch Vigard Olsen-Lear trying to fight it out with Stuart Gibbons. Gibbons runs off the circuit, could be under attack there from Lucas Henschel, who now tries to carry it all the way around the outside of Luffield. Demis Titchener certainly isn't giving up with this fight either, trying to get himself back into the fight. Ben Oucher still side by side with Daniel Downing as they come through turn number 1 here and up towards Maggots. They swing to the left, they'll turn across to the right. Oucher has the inside to Downing, and that is Chris McIntosh trying to find his way up the order as well. He is part of that pro category, so he does want to take a fight, and it's contact with Downing. McIntosh onto the grass. Somehow he keeps it going straight. He does lose position to Ronald de Jong. Well, he's going to fight with de Jong, but somehow not a lot of time lost with what was almost a race-ending collision. And McIntosh then takes de Jong off the track. In the very next corner, de Jong is going to find himself back on after Titchener, his teammate, fell down the order in the same corner, in the corner beforehand, I should say, in race number 1. He falls down the order in race number 2. Not a great day to be part of the Hydro Race Racing Forces crew. There is no doubt about that. Their machines seem to have picked up a magnet since Nürburgring last week. Moldecleve here, looking to try and move up the order as he stepped into the semi-pro standings for the first time this week. He's looking to try and get past de Jong as well and move his way up into 13th position. It just won't be enough as it stands. That was side by side between Gesdal and Alan McCain. They're fighting out in the Pro-Am. Gesdal moved up to the Pro-Ams. McCain moved down to the Pro-Ams for this week. So they are fighting out in the same class for the first time. We head up towards Brooklands. Are they going to give each other just enough room? They do. Gesdal is going to back out just behind that one. You can see the side-by-side action going on throughout the field as it's just constant in the early stages of this one. 5 minutes down, 20 minutes still to go as we come through Luffield and up towards Woodcock and the timing line. Lucas Henschel is looking to see what he can do with Stuart Gibbons and Luke James side by side just in front of him. Gibbons has the inside to turn number 1. He backs out of it though, allows James to hold that position for the time being. Up at the front of the order though, it is still the order of Van Gool, Sellers and then Borkland. Borkland just looking ahead of him thinking, I can get past these guys, I know I can. Is he going to play it patiently? Is he going to just wait until they might have slipped up and make a mistake? But of course, how long can he wait in this one? There are still 20 more laps of asking. Is he going to wait maybe another 15 times before he starts to make the moves and put the pressure on? Gordon Haig still behind JB Deshea as well. Try and do something. We go and watch Craig Walters bouncing his way through Luffield there. It was momentary contact with Josh Taylor, and Joshua Syme is going to take full advantage of that and find his way up into 18th position. And Syme in the amateur field is trying to climb his way up to Matt Pearce here, and he is doing an excellent job in the Snails Pace Racing team, showing anything but Snails Pace. He has got some great speed, and a team that hasn't done too well in championship so far in terms of overall points and therefore their team standings. Syme is looking to put on a really good showing here at the Silverstone circuit. It was almost all over in a moment for Joshua Syme there. Craig Walters completely missing the breaking point, almost into the rear bumper of Syme. Somehow they come out of it without contact. Walters falls behind Draper, who is of course on a recovery drive in this one after being up into the podium in race number 1. He found himself off the circuit and has since been on a hunt to recover. We come through the final turn of Woodcock now. Simon Moldecleve over the rear end of Matt Pearce once more. As we head up towards the timing line, Moldecleve moves to the right-hand side of Pearce, and he is going to get that move done up to 13th position. Can he catch his way and get his way past de Jong? Who was that off the circuit there at turn number 1? I think it was a driver a lap down, potentially. We're going to go to the race lead, though, because Bradley Sellers is all over the rear end of Peter Van Gool and is going to look to try and take the lead past the Result Clothing driver. Can Bradley Sellers get that inside line into Woodcock and hold it, sorry, into Brooklands and hold it? He does have the inside line. It's the long way round now at Luffield. Borkland can see this ahead, and he's now trying to debate which way he goes to make the double pass for the race lead. Sellers keeps it on the outside line, but that means Van Gool holds the lead for the time being. Over the timing line here, up towards turn number 1. Van Gool keeps the position. Taylor and Price are out with meatball flags in this race. We come up towards Maggots. It is going to be the inside now for Sellers, and Borkland is going to keep it to the inside of Van Gool as well to try and make his way up into second position. Bradley Sellers now leading the way. Kim Borkland, Peter Van Gool. There's a little bit of a nudge, another nudge between the two drivers, and another. They just keep on hitting each other down the straight. They're going to need some plasters for their car at the end of this one. It is going to be Peter Van Gool keeping his car ahead, with Borkland possibly under attack from JB Deshay right now. He's trying to do the wider line, but that wider line could have just put Deshay in a world of hurt, because here comes Gordon Haig, Borkland's teammate, to the inside, up towards Cops Corner. It is going to be the inside line for Gordon Haig on JB Deshay. Deshay breaks a little bit earlier, trying to get the carry across to the inside, but Haig keeps himself ahead. Deshay now under attack from Tony Walker and Ben Oucher, and even Daniel Downing, but that's contact. Downing goes into the rear end of Oucher. He sides the car, he gets it back straight, doesn't lose position, but does lose about 1.5 seconds after that little bit of contact. Ben Oucher, 7th position, trying to catch up to the leaders here. Are we going to see, after seeing the same 3 winners in the first 7 races, are we going to see a new overall race winner? Ben Oucher gets the inside of Tony Walker. He's on the hunt for taking home a 3rd race victory as well. He's going to be pushing on hard here with 10 minutes into this race. 15 minutes left to go in all of this. Right then, what happened earlier on? David Price. It was contact there, it's gone sideways, and then collection and more collection. It's a big old pile up from all of our drivers there, and then Josh Taylor was collected, and then, oh, big hit there. Only Taylor and Price actually picked up meatball flags in all of that. I should say, oh no, and Vigard Olsen-Lear did, I should say, as well. But in doing so, actually, on all of that, David Price actually got a penalty in coming down pit lane when he was trying to fix his car as well. Right, Alan McCain, Stuart Gibbons, 21st, 22nd position, side by side, going at it right now. Shamoy Samuel, Dan Mould are your only 2 drivers out of this race right now. Josh Taylor, though, 3 laps down. David Price, 2 laps down. This is Stuart Gibbons trying to get around the outside of Alan McCain, but he's going to come under attack here from Mark Draper. Joshua Syme, after finding his way up the order, moves down here behind Crowther and Hardy, but he's not too far off of Matt Pearce. You know, Joshua Syme could actually take what would be a 2nd class win of the season if he is able to get past Matt Pearce. He's only a couple of cars ahead of him right now. 13 minutes left on the board, and for a moment it looks like the side-by-side action is going to take that breather, just like it did about this time actually. About 12 minutes through the race is when that constant side-by-side action came to a close. Stuart Gibbons pushes himself wide through Maggots into the Wellington Straight, and he falls down to 25th position right now. Is he going to be under attack from Daniel Lewis? Because Lewis does look to the inside into Brooklands here. There's no overlap in the early part of the corner. Lewis is going to go very deep into Luffield here to try and carry it all the way around the outside. Luke James is going to think, how can I potentially try and take advantage of this? But there is no overlap from any of those positions for any of those drivers. We come up towards turn number 1 with Carl Hardy. He's behind Deck Crowther through turn number 1, trying to get into 17th place right now. Be 9th in that semi-pro field. 13 semi-pros out there, 10 amateurs, 8 pros, 10 of your pro-am. So definitely the biggest field of drivers, and Mikalainen's first day in the semi-pro class not going the way that he would have hoped for. The pole position driver down pit lane with a meatball flag. Carl Hardy here to the outside of Deck Crowther. It's not going to go turn into anything. Behind, it is Mark Draper trying to carry it around the outside of Alan McCain as we go into Brooklands and towards the Luffield complex. Draper is going to try and keep it to the inside. Draper, after having a strong start to the evening, it all fell away when he missed his braking zone into the Maggots. And he is yet to break back into the top 20. Trying to fight here with Alan McCain for 21st position. He keeps it to the inside. Demis Titchler behind. He's looking to try and find his way up the order as well. Remember, Titchler was fighting for a top 10. Got sent around on the final lap of asking in race number 1. He is also on a bit of a recovery drive right now. Gordon Haig is looking to try and get past Kim Borkland, 3rd and 4th position. They will stay in 3rd and 4th position right now, though, and neither of them able to touch Sellers or Van Gool, your 2 semi-pros at the front of this. If either of these drivers take an overall victory, it'll be the first time this season that a driver outside of your pro field has taken an overall race victory. Christian Larson is going to fight it out with Lewis McKay here, 30th and 31st position. It's going to be the outside for Larson. Can he try and keep it around the outside? No, he backs out of it early into that corner, but could he put his nose up the inside of Luffield? Not for the time being. He'll have to wait on behind. Ben Oucher trying to move into the top 5, goes to the left-hand side of JB Deshay into Maggots. We swing across towards the Wellington Straight. It's the long way round for Oucher, but you can put the power down a bit earlier. You can have that wheel turned a little bit less, so you can carry a bit more speed. And that's exactly what's happened for Ben Oucher. He has been able to place that car ahead of Deshay under the braking point, though. Who is going to brake earlier? Deshay backs out of that one. Ben Oucher finds himself into 5th position, looking to try and get past Haig and Borkland ahead of him. The 2 teammates that have been doing really, really well in consistent running. 2nd and 3rd position for Daniel Downing. He's still in 8th position, just getting the points on the board, of course. There's no point at this stage in the season making outlandish moves and throwing away what could still be some strong points. Stuart Gibbons to the inside of Lucas Henschel into Luffield. It is then Daniel Lewis trying to get in behind. Haig and Borkland have swapped around once more. Is this potentially seen the teammates do this before? Is this potentially to allow Haig through to give it a go at fighting Van Gool and Sellers? If there is a change in position, excellent. If there isn't, is Haig going to let Borkland back through? They're always in constant contact with each other. I believe that there is a little bit of team games going on there. Lewis settles in ahead of Henschel as we watch that battle on the screen, as I was talking about something completely different in all of that one. Right then. Yeah, I think that change, though, between the teammates is to give Gordon Haig the opportunity at fighting for the lead right now. We see even more cars out of this one, and we are down to 35 cars still running, because Mikalainen, even though he's in the session, he is still down pit lane. So 35 cars still left in this race right now. 9 minutes left on the board at the moment. As we come up towards turn number 1, we watch Carl Hardy still chasing in with Deck Crowther. Ben Oucher still in the midst of this fight as well, seeing if he can get past Kim Borkland. Borkland did back out, obviously let Haig through. Is this now going to be Oucher's moment to get past Kim Borkland? He moves to the outside of Borkland. Is Borkland going to give him enough room on the outside line? Just about there. Oucher runs a bit deep though. Borkland closes that door and Oucher has to settle in behind for the time being as we come out of Luffield. 8 minutes left on the clock here. Honestly, the time is absolutely flying in these races because of how quick these laps are. It's great to watch. Great fun. Constant fighting. Stuart Gibbons here fighting with Demis Titchler. There's Alan McCain just behind as well, but for now it is Gibbons on the outside of Titchler fighting for 21st. McCain is going to go to the inside for a moment. It is 3 wide. There's contact between Gibbons and Titchler as we're 3 wide along the main straight up towards Copse. McCain backs out of it under attack from Daniel Lewis. It's a safer bet, but for Stuart Gibbons, it is a penalty and race over off the circuit there at turn number 1. He ran off the track, picked up an off track enough to reach the penalty limit, and he will find himself down and out of race number 2 here. Leads this fight being now Demis Stitcher leading Daniel Lewis, leading McCain, leading Lucas Henschel behind. Henschel, the leading Pro-Am driver heading into this evening in the championship. Will he be there heading out of it? Probably not, because those championships are so tight. Thomas Kuhn, still getting some great points on the board right now. Alan McCain to the outside of Daniel Lewis behind, looking to try and move himself into 23rd overall. They take their points from overall race results, so every position out there really does mean something. 7 minutes left on the board here as we go across the timing line and up towards turn number 1. We return to our lead lap fight here because Ben Oucher has been able to get past Kim Borkland in whilst we were watching everything that was going on behind, and this is how Ben Oucher was able to make that move. It looks like it was a run up towards Brooklands for Oucher as he looked to the outside. That's what he did before, but this time he dived across to the inside line. Borkland couldn't go across to make the defending line because Oucher was already there. A great move for Ben Oucher, one of the Lumen Motorsport drivers there, just letting the lead lap drivers through. He sits a lap down. I believe that was Scott Malcolm letting the drivers through in all of that one. Carl Hardy fighting out 17th position with Deck Crowther. We come out of turn number 1 here. Crowther is going to be defensive up towards turn number 2 here. Hardy could try and place his car at the inside. It's a bit too far back though. Bit audacious from that move as we head into the final 5 minutes of asking here. Vigard Olsen Leah finds himself having more issues in this one. Lots of cars finding themselves with issues in race number 2. 5 minutes left on the board as we come into Brooklands and the Luffield complex. As we head out of the penultimate turn, we'll get up towards Woodcock. Mouldercleave on the hunt to try and move into 12th position. It'll be 6th in class right now. Ben Oucher looking to try and take the lead in the pro field. It is still leading from semi-pro drivers. Bradley Sellers, Peter Van Gool down to 2nd in the race, but Sellers could look to be the first non-pro driver to take an overall race victory. Ben Oucher on the hunt though right now, has got some great pace. Of course, he started this one from, I believe it was 8th position on the grid for Oucher. So he's up 4 places right now. Can he make another 3 overtakes? He's got to get past Gordon Haig to do that first. It would be a class victory for Oucher. If he gets past Haig, it'll be a 3rd class victory of this season, which would match Dan Mould. But Mould has taken 3 overall victories as well, remember. Deck Crowther and Carl Hardy still side by side. Crowther trying to get around the outside of Luffield, but Hardy maintains his overtake and will stay in 17th position overall. Crowther looked for a moment to get to the inside of Woodcock. That door though closed rapidly. He moved to the outside. He'll have to stay on the outside, and it now settles down into a single line in this fight for 17th position right now as we head towards the final few laps of asking. In fact, when we get across the timing line, it'll be 4 more laps of asking with about well, is it 4 laps? 3, 4, 5, yeah. My calculations say 4 more laps of asking. Potentially could just be 3. No, it'll be 4 more laps. It will be 4 more laps of asking once they come up towards the timing line. Craig Walters looking to get up past Mouldercleave. Mouldercleave went defensive early on in that one. This is Deck Crowther fighting out with Gestow, because Gestow has now managed to catch up to Crowther as well. It looks like there is some damage though on Crowther's machines. Maybe he's just struggling to get that car around the circuit at the moment. No meatball, but that doesn't mean there isn't any underlying mechanical damage that he could be struggling with that's causing him to lose a fair bit of time out there right now. John Brown over the rear end of Chris McIntosh as well. They're fighting out for 9th and 10th position in all of this one right now as we head through turn number 2 and up in towards the Wellington straight. Back towards the front though, because Van Gool could look for an opportunity to move his way back into the lead. He has closed the gap down to Bradley Sellers, But if these two drivers do get themselves into a fight, will that open up the door for Haig or Oucher behind? Moldecleve and Walters swapped positions. Walters up to 13th. Moldecleve 14th position as it stands right now. Hafstad is defending from McCaig. For a moment, Larson looked like he might have gone up the inside of McCaig. They're fighting for 29th, 30th and 31st position overall. It's 6th, 7th and 8th in your amateur, in your amateur field. As we come up towards the timing line, it is going to be another look to the inside for Larson. Another door that just isn't open from that step, far back. We come towards the timing line. Two different trains of drivers at the front of this one as Walters and Moldecleve continue to fight it out onto the Wellington Straight. Walters does keep his car ahead right now. Is Moldecleve going to try and get to the inside? He does it to the inside, only backs out of it, goes back behind. That Crowther picks up a penalty, as that is why it's a big accident along the straight that includes Mark Draper in all of that one. What has happened here with 3 laps to go? It was contact, and then almost looked intentional there from Crowther. I don't think it was. I think there was a little bit of linking, but the way he swung across to the left-hand side there, we just have to have another look at all of this. The way he swung across to the left-hand side. Let's look at the wheel. He's moving to the left. Yes, his wheel is straight, but his wheel is straight while he is moving to the left of the circuit. It's an interesting choice from Crowther there. Right then, we come up towards the end of the race. 2 laps to go, in fact. Are we going to see a fight for the lead as Van Gool and Sellers come round Luffield and head onto the white flag lap? Haig and Oucher behind are just going to be crossing their fingers that something might happen to the 2 drivers leading at the front of this one. Van Gool looked to the inside of turn number 1. It looked like he might have actually tried to get to the very inside of turn number 1. They've saved a couple of off tracks here to push the limits. Van Gool flashes the lights. He wants to make this move. How hard is he going to push? Where is he going to push from? He's also got to look in the mirrors because Gordon Haig is all over his rear end as we come onto the Wellington Straight and up towards Brooklands. Turn number 6. Bradley Sellers leading the way. Peter Van Gool moves for a moment towards the inside. It's not going to be an opportunity. Haig holds on to 3rd position ahead of Ben Oucher through the penultimate turn of Luffield up towards Woodcote. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but it is going to be a first overall win of the season for a non-pro driver. Bradley Sellers takes victory. Gordon Haig wins the pro class behind. It is then going to be Matt Pearce taking the double in the amateur field. And it will be Thomas Coombe winning the Pro-Ams to the line. It'll be Chris Evans trying to get past Luke James for the final podium position in class. He won't quite have that opportunity. Larson gets past Draper, who is dealing with that black flag as well. So we'll get some post-race penalties into this one delivered by the iRacing service that will then adjust your overall race results in this one. Draper does find his car down pit lane, but of course he cannot serve that penalty before the checkered flags. They will get a time penalty added on to the end of this one. But what a result for Bradley Sellers by the end of it all, because he managed to get past Peter Van Gool and keep the 93 machine all the way at the front of the order. What a result for your race winner, your semi-pro driver, for Bradley Sellers. It is a first overall win of the season, a second class win of the season for him. Absolutely fantastic job for Bradley Sellers, who was a Pro-Am until today, stepping in to the semi-pros for the first time this week, and he takes an overall race victory. What an absolute fantastic result. And with that being said, let's talk us through your entire race results for the second and final race of the day. It was victory in the end for Bradley Sellers. It was a semi-pro finding his way to victory lane. What a result for the independent driver. It was a second place in the end for Peter van Gool. From pole position, he did a great job to keep both Borkland and then Haig at bay for as long as he did. Gordon Haig takes home a first-class win of the season. It's third overall, ahead of Ben Oucher, Kim Borkland and Daniel Downing. JB Dejay coming home in 7th position ahead of Tony Walker. It is then Chris McIntosh coming home in 9th position ahead of John Brown. 11th position went the way of Fraser Garrity ahead of Ronald de Jong, Craig Walters as Simon Moldercleave. It was then a class victory once again for Matt Pearce. He managed to do it in 15th place this time ahead of Thomas Coombe, who won in the Pro-Am field in 16th position. It was then 17th position for Carl Hardy, 18th for Marcus Gesdow, and 19th for Demis Titchler. 20th place rounded out was for Daniel Lewis at the end of all of that. 21st then went the way of Alan McCain, 22nd for Lucas Henschel ahead of Joshua Syme. Luke James in 24th position ahead of Chris Evans. Torban Mayo coming home in 26th position, 27th for Per Harvard Hafstad. Christian Larson in 28th position ahead of Lewis McCaig. Paul Hurley coming home in 30th position. And Mark Draper, your last driver on your lead lap, 31st. Scott Malcolm, Viggo Olsen Lee are both a lap down. Deck Crowther 2 laps down, and out of your race with Stuart Gibbons, Chris London, Marco Mikalainen, David Price, Josh Taylor, Dan Mould. And then finally, it was Shamoy Samuel. Early on for all of those, every driver got started into race number 2. Not every driver finished race number 2. A bit of a mixed bag for some drivers, some really big highs, some really low lows. With that being said then, let's have a word with a couple of our drivers out of this one so we can figure out how they found it out there running around the Silverstone National circuit, a circuit that was certainly not built for 41 cars to go out for racing action, this Silverstone layout of the track. And we will have to go with, if we can, our driver that managed to take home victory in what was race number 2. Bradley Sellers starting second on the grid, but coming home to take victory in race number 2. And I mean, the invert for that one sort of fell your way anyway. Bradley, you were outside of the top 10 up until the final lap of asking, and then you managed to turn it into a race victory in race number 2. Talk us through your evening.
Yeah, I think I got quite lucky in race 1 with that altercation in front of me, giving me the, reverse second place. And then in race 2, I got a mediocre start, so I had to come back from that. But once I took the lead, I don't think I've concentrated that much in a long time. I was just hit the braking baggers, hit the apexes, just keep driving, keep going, and I was just counting down the laps, really.
It was not a first winning class for you because you obviously have had the change. You were Pro-Am before today. You jumped up into semi-pros. Even with that jump up to semi-pros, you actually already had a semi-pro victory to your name. That's how quick you were. And now you have taken an overall race victory to your name as well. The first non-pro driver to take an overall race result. We're almost halfway through the season. You are looking to be very, very quick at the moment. Are you hoping to carry that momentum through into the rest of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I need to make up for the poor results at Mugello a couple of rounds ago, but I'm just going to keep plugging away and see what I can do, really.
Wow, it was, as you say, falling into your laps in race number 1, gave you perfect positioning on grid for race number 2, and an overall race victory. Congratulations, Bradley.
Thank you very much.
A brilliant result there. It definitely was. It fell into his lap with the incident going on in front of him, but it did mean a victory for him in the end, which is always what you want to see as a driver at the end of the day. And a driver who couldn't quite make his way up towards the front of the order today, but found himself batting towards the front. Ben, you had a good evening of racing. You got a podium in race 1. You got 4th overall in race number 2. Some strong results for the championship. But it looked like you just couldn't quite make some of those overtakes done. It looked quite difficult around the track. So many cars, such a tight track.
Yeah, it's very difficult to make moves around here, especially with everyone being so close on pace as they were. If you see an opportunity and then you miss it, you're looking at another 2 or 3 laps before you get a chance to make another try again. So it can be quite tough to make moves.
Well, it does mean you've got another couple of really strong points behind you, especially in that one because Dan Mould, who went on to win race number 1, caught up in issues, of course, out of race number 2. That consistency from you should bring you back in towards the championship, but you do have that fight. You've got Haig, you've got Borkland. They haven't won races yet, but they have been super consistent as well. How do you feel about the championship fight? We're almost halfway through the season already.
Yeah, I'm on a decent form. I think I'm doing quite well. Consistently up the front most of the time. I'll have to see when the drop rounds get applied because I missed the first round of the season, so I'm down on points because of that. But I'm curious to where I'd end up being.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how close you are to that top fight and how it's going to look going into the second half of the season. It was a great double event for you with some good points on the board, Ben, and congratulations on a podium and a 4th position.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Ben Oucher there going home. As I say, podium in race number 1, 4th place in race number 2. It has been another evening of absolutely fantastic racing action for all of our drivers. As I say, some highs, some lows for sure out there here at the Silverstone circuit. I mean, it was always going to be a bit of a mixed bag when you have 41 cars on a circuit that was not built for 41 cars. The national layout of Silverstone, but what an evening of racing. If you are watching this back, obviously, in one of those drives, and we didn't quite catch your battle, I do apologise. There was so much going on constantly up and down the field. I couldn't even breathe for a moment. But what it does mean is I finally have a week's break here on Joseph White Broadcasting for the first time since Christmas in 2025. So we say goodbye here at SRL TV. We'll join you next Friday for round number 5 in the championship as we head over to the Autodromo Enzo E. Dino Ferrari, of course better known as Imola, to you and me, which will mark the halfway point in the season. It'll be the next time we're live as well. Of course, we will be heading out on Joseph White Broadcasting about a couple of hours before the SRL TCR League for the other TCR League we can get out onto the broadcast. Make sure joining us for that one. However, here at Joseph White Broadcasting for the week, it is goodbye, and we hope you have a fantastic week ahead. Don't forget to join the, subscribe to the Joseph White Broadcasting YouTube channel so that you are notified when the highlight videos are published for these events. And of course, if you're watching over on the SRL TV, which you should be, make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button over there as well to support the SRL team right then. Here from Joseph White Broadcasting and SRL TV, we hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and we will see you when we head to Imola for the 5th round of competition. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.